Good morning. In the previous session, you discussed about the different types of sensors. What is a sensor node? What are the components of sensor node? And then what are the different categories of sensor? And then different categories of sensor nodes. How can you apply this sensor node to Internet of Things? That is the one. In the main concept in the Internet of Things, Internet communication. Why? Because each and every computer device having the internet connection, and then you require some identification number. That means each and every IoT device is having IP address. Here, how can you these devices communicating from? So that means how can you transferring the data from one device to another device, and then one computer to another computer. That means that is a main important thing in this IoT devices in the IoT systems. That means the communication is very important. Here, which type of communication? That one, internet communication. Here, in the networking, a communication protocol or network protocol is a special type of set of, that means the specification of set of rules for particular type of communication. Here, how can you represent the protocol here? The protocol means a set of rules and conventions. You require some convention. You have to frame the rules from communicating. You have a different protocols are there for communicating one device to another device or one computer to another computer. TCP protocol, UDP protocol, IP protocol, HTTP protocol. In the real world, you have a different types of protocols are there. Here in the networking, a set of rules for particular type of communication. You are framing the set of rules that is called here communication protocol or network protocol. Here different types of protocols you are describing here for single communication. Here that forms a protocol stack. Here you have a different communications are there. This diagram shows the different communications. From the, that means from the different domains, from the different communication, how they are establishing the communication from one computer to another computer, or computer to mobile phone, or computer to one IoT device to another IoT device. That is a very important thing. Here you have a different protocols describe different aspects of single communication. This forms a protocol stack. The protocol stack consists of different protocols. That means the protocol stack divided into proto different layers. In the internet communication, you are using a TCP/IP layer protocol. Here we have a four different TCP/IP layer protocols are there: link layer protocol, network layer protocol, transport layer protocol, application layer protocol. That means application layer protocols are there. These are all are used to establishing a communication between different IoT devices. The protocol and protocol stack refers to a software that implements the protocol. Here you are telling that it is a protocol stack. What is the meaning here? That is a simply call it as a protocol, or it is simply call it as a software. The networks by using protocol called it as a TCP/IP, and then that means transmission control protocol or internet protocol. Here the internet works based on a which type of protocols here. Main important protocols are TCP and then IP. That's why it is a TCP/IP protocol suite. Is it clear? The internet always works by using the two different protocol TCP and then IP. TCP/IP is a communication language of internet. The TCP and IP allows a one computer to talk to another computer via internet by using some packets of data and sending that packets of data to the right location. That is the important thing in a TCP and then IP here. Here it is used to establishing the one computer to another computer by using internet. The middle, let us assume the middle globe indicates the internet. Here you are connecting the different computers. one computer to another computer. That means you are connecting the different computer by using internet. That means and then sending a packets from one location to another location. Sending a packets to one location to another location. That is a many important thing. And then the main important protocols here is the TCP and IP designed to be used together and referred as a TCP IP protocol suite. That means it consists of protocol suite different layers. Here one is a application layer, here one is a link layer, other one is a network layer, other one is a transport layer, other one is a application layer. These are all different layer. Here this particular layer consists of link layer consists of ethernet, wi-fi, and then network layer consists of IP, TCP and UDP. And then coming to the application layer, very important protocol layer here is application layer protocol: HTTP, POP3, SMTP, MQTT, DNS server, and then DHCP. These are all different protocols. Here, the communication internet includes the main important protocols in this case: internet protocols and then transmission control protocol. These two are the important protocol. Other than these two, you will use a in the TCP/IP stack. You have a UDP protocol is there for establishing the communication. That means most probably you are not using that one, the communication, and then HTTP and then FTP. Here, if it comes to the protocol, internet protocol, the first important one, the internet protocol. Here, what is the internet protocol? Internet protocol is a network layer protocol. Here, the internet stands for, that means IP stands for internet protocol. Here, this is a protocol defined in a TCP/IP model used for sending packets from source to destination. Here, there is a source address, source computer is there that's having the one IP address. IP in the sense internet. That each and every computer having a IP address. Internet protocol address is there. The unique number, that unique number, by using unique number you can easily identify the source as well as the, or simply call it as a client as well as the server system. Here the TCP IP model, it is existed in a TCP IP model where it is existed. Here it's a network layer. In the network layer it is existed, and then in this layer you have a IP is there. Here you are using the two different IP versions are there: IP version 4 and then IP version 5. IP version 4 having the 2 power 32 different addresses. IP version 6 advanced one, 2 power 128 different addresses are there. IP version 6, that is a important thing. And then it is a protocol defined in a TCP IP model used for sending a packet from source to destination. Here, the main task of IP is deliver the packets from source to destination. Here, it is sending a packets from one client system to another client system based on the IP address available in a packet header. The packet header, we will discuss later about the what is a header. The internet protocol header, based on the packet header, you are sending data. And then another important one here is a IP defines a protocol structure that hides the data which is to be delivered as the addressing method that labels the datagram with source and destination information. That's a important thing here. It's having the each and every IP having the packet structure. Packet structure consists of header data is there, source information is there, and then destination information is there. That means in this way you have a addresses are there. In this way you will identify the source as well as the destination addresses. Here IP protocol provides a connectionless service which is accomplished by the transport layer protocols. Here TCP IP and UDP IP. That means these two protocol, TCP works with the IP and then UDP also works with the IP here. Here the TCP takes the some information from the network layer, application layer, and transform that information into IP. And then so internet protocol is known as a TCP IP or UDP IP. Here that is an important thing. And then the functions of internet protocol. Here we have a three functions of internet protocol is there. That means encapsulating the data into packet structure, routing the data from the source to destination across the one or more IP networks, providing the addressing to the host. Here, these are all main important tasks. Encapsulation of data into packet structure. Here, combining the data, that means the source address, destination address, and then some of the components are there. Here, source, destination, as well as some other information, the header related information, as well as that means here data as well as the header related information combined into packet structure. That's why this is called here encapsulation process. And then routing the data from source to destination. The second important thing here is a data routing. Here encapsulation of data, that means header related information. The second important task here, routing the data from source to destination across the one or more IP network. And then finally providing the addressing to the different host. Main important task, these three are, we will discuss next about these three tasks: encapsulation of data and header, and then routing the data from one place to another place, and then providing the addresses. And then to achieve this type of functionalities of IP provides two major things which are given below. What are the two major things here? You are going to know about the format of the IP address and then format of the IP packet. That means encapsulation of the first important one, data, encapsulation of data into packet structure. Here, the packet structure, encapsulation of data. Data, how can you encapsulation data? The packet structure consists of header and the data. Here, if you comes to the IP data is there, and then header is there. Here, how can you represent the header related information? The first one, encapsulation of data into IP structure. How can you encapsulation the data? For encapsulation of data, you have a data as well as a header structure is there. Here, what is a header structure here? An IP headers contains information about the IP packet, which includes what are the information: source IP address, destination IP address, header length, packet length, TTL, time to live, and then transport protocol, and then data or payload. Here, these are all different components, different information, the information about the IP header. At the time of encapsulation of data, here we are doing this one. What is the source address? The source address in the sense, that means the source is the one who is sending the data. That means a person in the right diagram we have the source address. Here, who is sending the data? That means client data. The client always sending data, sending the data to the server. Client data, let us assume the destination IP address. The destination IP address in the sense, destination is a host that receives the data from the sender, receives the data from the sender. Always the destination IP address receives the data. That means for the IP address, you require this component. And then length of the header. What is the length? The total length you are having. The flags and the fragment offset. You are counting as a total length. And then packet length. Here you are including the packet length information also. And then TTL. TTL means time to live. The number of hops occurred before the packet gets discarded. That's called here TTL. In the right side diagram, you will identify the TTL related information. The transport protocol. The next, the protocol is there, the transport protocol. The transport protocol used by internet protocol, either it can be TCP or UDP. There is a total of 14 fields exist in a IP address. One of them is optional. That means you have a different fields are there, whatever. I'm telling you only important fields here. And then another one is a data. Data, that means payload. Payload is a data that is to be transported from source to destination via routing path. By using routing path, you will information. That means the routing is a one of the function. Here, what are the function? You completed the first function, encapsulation of data into packet structure. Here you are encapsulating the data into packet structure. The next important one, routing the data from the source to destination across the one or more IP networks. Here the next important thing, that one IP routing. Here, what is a IP routing? Here, the IP routing in the sense, the IP routing is a process of determining the path from source to destination for the data. Here, if you see here, you have that means IP works with the UDP as well as the TCP. Here, for example, one computer is there, it is sending some data. Now, let us assume this one is a client. Here, it is done by using routing. That means the IP routing done by the router. Here, router, that means here also TCP you are using. Here, source to destination for the data. Data is divided into multiple packets in this case. Each packet will pass using web of the router until it reaches the final destination. Here the destination is a computer B, computer A, and then computer B. You are going to reaching the destination. For doing this routing, you have a different kinds of routing algorithms existed. Here, what are the different? So many different types of routing algorithms existed in a network layer. Here, the path from source to destination for the data is determined by the routing algorithm. That means the routing algorithm considers the various factors like the size of the packet, its header to determine the efficient route for the data from the source to destination. That means determine the efficient route. That always it consider the, what is the consideration for the algorithm? Algorithm always take the route. What is the shortest route? That means you have to get the shortest route, and then route for the data from the source to destination. What is the path? And then it's consider the size of the packet as well as the path. And then when data packet reaches some router, then the source address and destination address are used with the routing table determine the next hop address. Here, that is a important thing. This process continue until it reaches the destination. Here, in this case, data is divided into multiple packets, so all packets will travel to reach the destination. That is a IP routing. Here in this IP routing, router, here you're using the router here. Router is a networking device that forwards the data packets between a computer networks. In this case, the router perform a traffic uh, direction functions on the internet. Here, data sent using internet such as web pages, emails in the form of data packets. Here, always you are sending the data. One computer client to, sir, how can you send the data? Any web pages or any kind emails in the form of data packet. Here in this case, packet is forwarded from one router to another router by using networks that's having the internet work or internet until it reaches the destination node. That is the important thing in a router. Here router is connected to two or more data lines from the different IP networks. Here it's always reads the network address information in the packet address to determine the destination. The router always reads the network address information. By using this information, it routes the table routing policy, and it directs the packet to next work on the journey. That is the important one in the IP routing. That means it's a most that means the most familiar type of IT routers are home or office routers that forwards IP address, IP packets between a home computer to in the internet. More sophisticated routers are there. Enterprise routers connect large business or ISP networks. Here, this is a something about the some functionality. Here, that means three functionalities are there. What are the three functionalities of IP? The first functionality, encapsulation of data. Second functionality, routing, performing the routing. Here, the third functionality here, addressing the IP. The functionality, thought about functionality in this case here is a address, providing the addresses. Here, what are the addresses here? The different information is there. Addressing in the sense IP address. IP address in the sense uniquely identify for uniquely identifying the system, uniquely identify any device you are using the IP address. IP address is a software, software, or it is a some number. It's a logical address. It is a logical address that is called here IP address. Here you have a different IP addresses are there, public IP address and then private IP address. Here the public IP address, the public IP address also known as a external address, they are grouped under the WAN address. You also define the public address as a way to communicating outside the network. That is a public IP address. 192.168. Some 2.0.3. Like that, you have a different addresses are there. And then public address also known as a external address. Already you know. And then this address is assigned by the internet service provider. Here, the internet service provider provides an address. It is not available for the free of cost. You can get public IP by typing on Google. Here, the coming to the next one, private address. The private address also known as a internet address. Here, it is a grouped under the LAN address. It is used to communicate with the network. These addresses are not routed on the internet so that no traffic can come from the internet to this private address. The private address always, what is the lead of private address here? Private address also known as the internal address. It is a group under the LAN address. Here, how can you establish the communication if here the using? It's not a router. That means this these addresses are not routed on the internet. So the traffic can come from the internet to this private address. And then its scope is local. As you communicate within a network only. It is used for creating the local area network. That means the private address always used to creating the local network, and then the private address available free of cost. You can get to know the private address by simply typing the I configure on the command line. If you want, for example, I want to communicate the private address. How can you communicate the private address? I want to type, yeah, go to command from, and then if you comes to the command from, if you type iconfigure, if you type the iconfigure, Windows ID configuration is there. Here it will shows the IP address related information, the wireless LAN network IP version 4 address. The that means it's having the some IP version 6 address. This is one, and then subnet mask is there, and then gateway. Here like that you are having the, that means what is the thing here, you can get you can get to know about the private address by simply typing the IP configure on the command prompt. Then you will identify the this particular IP address related information. That is a important thing. And then IP address is a, what is an IP address in this case? Unique identifier assigned to the computer in a computer. But then you are assigning the IP address to the computer, which is connected to the internet. Each IP address consists of series of characters. Like for example, it's a hand characters. Here, if you represent this one in a binary format, also you will represent the IP address. And then 192.168.1.2. The user cannot access the domain name of each website which with the help of these characters. For example, you cannot, for example, Google address is there. For example, 8.8.8. Like that, that means very difficult to remember the numbers. That's why for the domain name. So DNS resolvers are used to convert the human readable format. Here, that's why you are using the DNS, domain name server. For example, if you give 192.168. For example, 2.3, that's having some special name. It's converted into like a google.com. That means it is easy to understand the human. Here, that is a human readable domain names into series of characters. That means not in numbers, series of characters. That's why you are using DNS server. DNS server, that is the main important role in a the main important role of DNS server. That's one. That is a something about internet protocol. Here, this IP packets through addresses are there. IP addresses of device which is sending packet and the IP address of device which is receiving packet. Here, basically two types of IP addresses are there: IP version 4, IP version 6. That means we will discuss later about the all two versions. That means there is a concept is there. What is the IP version? What is IP version 2? IP version 3? IP was not IP version 3, IP version 4. After that, you have a IP version 6 coming to the market, which has been increasingly used for public internet since 2006. That is the references. You will see these references here: Wikipedia, Java Tip Point, like that. You have some references are there.